Hey, welcome to Whiskey Wealth Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Glen Palmer, and this show is for those who respect the craft of fine spirits and think long term about wealth. Now, before we dive in, very quick word from our sponsor. This episode was brought to you by Whiskey Wealth Mastery, where serious investors learn to build wealth through whiskey casks the right way with data-driven investing in a quietly powerful asset that has historically grown between 8 and 12% annually. Find me on LinkedIn at Glen Palmer Online or check out the show notes below for more information. Because if you're going to play the long game, you may as well play like a warrior. Now, today I am joined by Mike, how do you say it, Mike Wasowich?
Waskewich.
Waskewich. Mike
Yep.
Waskewich Jr. Now, he is a retired U.S. Army Sergeant Major who had turned tech founder, co-founder of the Bar Book, a platform using flavor-first data to level the player field in the beverage industry and reshape how consumers discover craft brands. And that includes whiskey as well. Mike, been really looking forward to chatting you about the Bar Book. So yeah, let's jump right in, shall we?
Absolutely.
So, Mike, if time travel became a reality and you had a chance to go back in time to when you first started your career, what advice would the person that you are now tell your younger self?
Well, I think the first thing I tell myself is go for it, jump, dive right in. Um, I think there are a lot of times that people are hesitant to take risks sometimes, and I think throughout my life and my career, I think there have been times when I may have shied away from doing something, worrying about the risk. Um, but going on in this venture and what I've learned is go for it. If you've got the passion and you're willing to learn the lessons and you're willing to put in the work, I think you can accomplish quite a bit. So I'd say, telling my older self or my younger self, jump, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could do that as well. Wise words, because the amount of times that I have sort of had a look at it and thought, maybe I go for complacency rather than risk, you know, and I wish I'd
Yeah.
just give myself the nudge and just says, go for it, try it. So, Mike, you spent, 23 years in a very, very high pressure leadership roles. So, what carried over into building the bar book? And tell us a
Yeah.
little bit
So
about the bar book as well.
sure. So the bar book came from an idea of really around whiskey, as we're talking. The idea of trying to discover the next thing that you want to try without spending a fortune on bottles and then discovering later that you didn't like it. And some people have small groups of friends. Some people spend a lot of time searching the internet. I've even met some people that have a literal notebook where they have written down all their flavor profiles. And most of that is not very actionable and it's not very usable. It's there, but it takes forever to get back. So, for my own thought process, we decided to figure out a way that would use my notes or my likes to suggest the next thing. And that's where we kind of followed up and came up with the bar book. So we built an algorithm that takes flavor profiles of brands, matches them against your likes and dislikes, and then suggests your next favorite bottle or pour based on that. And we'll get you into the ballpark. We're not going to give you, I don't think there's ever a way to give a 100% perfect match. There are little nuances, but we're going to get you in the ballpark of something you like. And I would
Yeah.
say that, from the military, I drew a lot of persistence, a lot of my networking capability skills, the ability just to talk to somebody and reach out, ask questions when you didn't know. But I also learned that the whiskey industry is very much influenced by veteran culture, and there are a lot of veterans in the space. So my service transitioned very well into this industry, and I had a lot of doors open up very easily just because we shared a similar background.
Yeah. I mean, that's genius. Because when I think about it, you're quite right. You've got one person that has like little notes in a book to say, "Oh, that was quite nice. I like that flavor profile. That was quite nice. That was a dark rum. That was a light whiskey that had certain vanilla tastes and etc. etc." using an algorithm to basically put into your bar book, and then with it to come out with suggestions, it sort of makes it easier for you to pick flavor profiles that you know is not going to be 100%, but like you said, but pretty much on the nose. So you're not going out, because one of the worst things that I ever did. Now, I love whiskey, I love bourbon, I love everything, right? I can talk about it until the cows come home. One that I do not like is um uh Isla whiskies, so peated whiskies.
Yep.
Oh man, that is just too smoky. It is too earthy for me. And I didn't know, so I bought a very, very expensive bottle of Lafrogue, only to realize that it was shit, and I hated it. So yeah, I think what you guys are doing are absolutely phenomenal. So
And that's the
yeah,
beauty, right? Is so a Lefroy, right? Somebody may go on and create a YouTube video or a TikTok reel or something and say Lefroy is the best, whiskey in the world. This is great. And if you like that follow, you may think that's a great whiskey and it's great. And it is a great whiskey. It just may not be, you and I are the same. It just may not be a great whiskey for us. And
yeah,
that's the kind of the point of this is we never say that a whiskey is good or bad, or that a vodka or tequila is good or bad. That is in the eye of the beholder. It's what is good or bad to you. The
exactly.
other thing I'll say is it's also situation dependent. So the problem with notebooks and spreadsheets and all these other things is that's a one-time input, right? You write it down one time and you think that is the way it's going to be forever. This evolves. So you may
Yeah,
not like Lafroy
taste evolve.
today, but your flavor profile may evolve over time. And you may eventually like something, maybe with a little peat, but not a lot. I am not a peated guy either. So I avoid those. But I will tell you, if somebody offers me a sample, I will update my profile and kind of say, yeah, I'm still not a fan. But
Yeah, 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 yeah. So you say, yeah, you're leveling up the playing field in the beverage
yeah,
discovery. Uh, can you possibly tell me what's broken and how consumers currently discover whiskey and other craft spirits? I know we've gone a little bit into it, but if you can expand on that, that would be great.
sure. Yeah. So most people, when they buy spirits, I would argue that you could ask just about any random consumer, they buy based off of a category. Meaning if I'm going to buy something from the local liquor store, I'm going to buy a vodka, I'm going to buy a bourbon, I'm going to buy something with a Scotch whiskey, right? They don't necessarily look for brand names. Now, there are a few recognizable brand names, and that's because of big marketing dollars, right? So if you walk
Yeah,
in and you're like, I need a bourbon, okay, Kentucky bourbons, boom, these are the bourbons. I'm going to grab one that I recognize or that my friend has told me about. The problem is that allows a lot of brands to get overlooked because maybe shelf placement is off or their name's not as recognizable or maybe their price point's a little higher because they're a smaller craft brand. So with this, we remove all of the pre-assumptions that people have of what brands might be and what their bottles may taste like because we just go based off of flavor. So you
yeah,
can't buy a higher rating match to me or you because it's about what we like, not about how well that. Now I can go in and say, okay, these are 5 bottles I like, and now I can make an educated decision about price point. But this will now open the door to something a little different and give you a way
mm,
to discover something without a huge marketing budget.
yeah. Some of the hidden gems as well that I have found over the years have not been really that badly priced. Perfect example. Look over my shoulder. Teeling whiskey, Irish whiskey, stout. Not a big stout fan. Gotta admit, but
Yeah.
stout finished or whiskey finished in a stout cask. Man, that was beautiful for me. And again, really not that expensive, but I would not have found that if I didn't go to Ireland and do the Golden Triangle for starters, and B, if I hadn't seen it on a shelf and thought, you know what, let me just try that. So yeah, really understand where you're coming from. So most platforms, they sort by brand, by price, or popularity, like we've just discussed. So why does flavor first discovery really matter? Especially when they're thinking about, the smaller craft producers that may go unnoticed.
Yeah, so I mean, we will let you sort by brand and price and do those normal filters that everybody else does. But this, like I said, opens up the door to discovering something that you may have overlooked. Maybe you are looking at a brand and it could be a very large popular brand, and you just assume that they don't produce something as well because of an experience you had with maybe another SKU or another item in their product line. I give a great example. Jim Beam. And when I tell people this, there are a lot of people that give me this weird look. So the regular standard bottle of Jim Beam, I could run through the list of people that have had a bad experience, drinking too much and don't like it, right? Or they had it once when they were younger and they're like, no way, I'm never going to drink that again. But there is a Jim Beam double oak that I could pour that in a glass neat for a lot of bourbon connoisseurs and just not tell them what it is. And they would sample it and think that that is just fantastic. It must be a very high elevated, bourbon at a very high price point. It's not. In most US liquor stores, that's about a $25 to $30 bottle. It's very inexpensive,
Wow.
but it hits at a higher price point. And there are things like that might even get overlooked that way. In the same way, a craft producer who has something at a higher price point might get overlooked just simply because of the price. They're like, I'm not sure I can spend $80 for a craft bottle, but it may be that hidden gem, that fantastic bottle that really aligns with some of your flavor notes.
Yeah. And from what you're seeing, what actually separates craft brands that scale from those that just, quietly disappear into the night?
Yeah, I would say creativity is one thing, but business sense dominates. And sometimes the creativity kind of takes over and it becomes more of a fun project more than a business model. And there's a balance, 100% balance. But the ones that I've seen that have focused more on the artistry and less on the business sense, they seem to kind of fade away a little bit because maybe they have forgotten that they're still a business and they've got to do these things. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's a tightrope balance because they want to keep the artistry. That's what makes them unique. That's what makes them special, while still having a business sense. And maybe that's two personalities or two business owners working together. One that's the artist and one that's the business manager
Yeah.
profile, whatever, that takes care of these things. But I think sometimes leaning too much into the artistry can let them fade away.
Yeah. And then one of the things that I've noticed, you're also involved with craft brewing and distilling. So can you tell me a little bit more about this fantastic business and why it's so important for community infrastructure, and for independent market producers in today's market?
Yeah, so we built C.R.A.F.T as a nonprofit organization to help grow industry access for veterans in the adult beverage industry. And we say adult beverage, talking about the entire ecosystem from the grain growers to the botanical growers, all the way up until your bartenders serving and retail shop owners, restaurateurs, and such. But everybody in that industry that's serving some space and
Yeah.
connecting these dots and creating education and entrepreneur and industry access opportunities for these people has been fantastic. It's been something we've benefited from, and we really wanted to connect the dots for those businesses to help them grow. So that, like we just talked about, one of those maybe a smaller brand may need some assistance from one of their partner brands that's in a different market, and they can work together and grow their access, grow their space in their brand.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. I think more people should be doing that, to be honest. Because at the end of the day, the adult drinks industry is a phenomenal industry to get into. And like you said, it's not just about, the craft brewers and the distillers. It's everything within that. It's the like you say, the people in the bars, the hotel industries, the hospitality, right down to the growers. I mean, one of the major things that I love about that is that it incorporates everything. And it is connecting the dots. So kudos on what you're doing there. Really love it. Um, Now, if you zoom out specifically on whiskey, do you think that flavor-led discovery could reshape how collectors and investors sort of identify emerging distilleries before they even become mainstream?
So yes. So looking out at a larger perspective of the industry as a whole, I would say that there are a lot of tech companies coming into the whiskey industry as they're mainly targeting the whiskey industry. There's a lot of unique nuances in the whiskey industry in general, but there's a lot of data personnel coming into the whiskey industry, similar to like what you talked about with whiskey wealth management as well, where you're looking at the data from the industry perspective, how long a barrel needs to sit, how much is that barrel worth, how much does it yield, all of those different things coming up. So there's a lot of data looking industry inward. We are looking industry outward. And I think when the two eventually collaborate in the future, it's going to be very powerful to drive. If you can imagine telling the exact data points that produced a barrel, that produced a bottle, that produced a flavor profile to a demographic of consumer, and then say, I can now make that same flavor profile again to that same consumer base, repeatable over and over. I think this does get to reshape. We have taken an approach of, instead of asking what markets well, we've asked the consumer to tell us, what do you actually like? And not let the larger brands tell you what is available or allocated or limited or whatever marketing term they're using to push their brands. We now want to be able to pull from consumer data and flip it back and say, what do you actually like and what should they do again?
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. Mike, love what you are doing in the beverage industry, how you're growing it, how you take in certain nuances and making it your own. So appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on the show. Once again, thanks to my listeners and viewers of YouTube as well. Before we sign off, Mike, I'm sure some of my listeners and viewers will want to get in touch with you to find out more about what you're doing at the Bar Book
Absolutely.
and at Craft. So how can they do that?
Yeah, so the bar book is available on the worldwide on the app stores. Just log into your app store, whether it's Google Play or Android, or I'm sorry, Google Play or Apple, and just search the bar book or the barbook.app online. And then you can also go for Craft, find supportcraft.org, and show your support, find some of your favorite veteran-owned brands, and tell us any ones we're missing.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. So that almost wraps up today's episode. I want to thank you, Mike, for joining me on the show, sharing your passion with me. But before we go, quick reminder, this episode was brought to you by Whiskey Wealth Mastery, where understanding data-driven strategy is in an asset class that has historically quietly delivered 8 to 12% annual growth. If you've ever wondered whether whiskey could be something that you own, grow, and monetize, not just drink, you can download a free guide at whiskeywealthmastery.com/free. You've been listening to Whiskey Wealth Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Glen Palmer, and today I was joined by Michael. Thanks again for listening and watching, and I will see you on the next episode.